Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on the weekend show brought to you by Holocrunch. My name is Andy Madaki.
And I'm Eddie Young Frank.
How was your week, Didi?
It was good. Lots of birthdays in my family, so lots of food this week.
Talking about food, Didi promised me 2 weeks ago to take me to a special place where I can find the best rice in Abuja, and that hasn't happened, which is why today we will be talking about food. Every conversation in Nigeria right now is centered around food. When I want to buy stuff, I calculate how much food that will get for me. And I do that mathematically. I'm like, is this opportunity cost or should I do this? And when we were talking about the minimum wage, which we'll be talking about in the political segment, a bag of rice has gone from 50,000 naira to 100,000 naira. And if the government is offering 60,000 naira as minimum wage, it can't even buy a bag of rice.
62. Don't
62 for now. We're going higher. We are handing over. Anyways, we'll be talking about food and lifestyle segment, and joining us we have
Elmazino Otorumio. Did I pronounce that properly?
Last name is Otorimo.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good
Thank
morning
you
and
for
welcome
having
to the
me.
show. And we
Thank
have
you.
Aramide Olushunle. Good morning.
Olushunle.
Good morning and welcome to the show.
welcome to the weekend show. I follow both of your work in the food space with what you do with Abuja Food Tour and Abuja Eat. He has invited me to a couple of places. I remember the first time I went to Cafe de Match.
Yeah,
you got me there, and I really enjoyed your food. It's still one of my best brunch places. And as for you, when I want to find new food places, and I've had a couple of openings. We saw at the
Zuma Grill, yes.
Grill opening. The food was really good.
Oh, it was amazing, and it was interesting to see that some of the dishes were curated by Chef Stone, who's a popular chef in Abuja as well. So that was lovely, with Macallan as well.
How does one become a food reviewer? Not a critic, but someone who decides, I want to review food. What makes you feel your taste buds are better than mine to know it's good?
I think the first telltale sign is experience. So it's not enough to just visit different restaurants and just say, oh, the food is good or the food is bad. You must understand the process of cooking. You must understand the different kinds of textures. You must understand the depth regarding food. So I think that's a way to determine a food reviewer from a regular food blogger. A food blogger is someone who documents their experience trying out new restaurants, while a food reviewer is someone who takes out time to, consider the dish, whether the presentation, the plating, the cook time, the textures, and the flavors involved. So it's a really wholesome experience in reviewing food.
Also, I can't just wake up and
explore
different restaurants.
You can. You would just be simply a food blogger, documenting your experience. Or an explorer. I think that's the new.
Because I think the critique, people always forget the meaning of critique.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to be constructive with it. You can't just be like, oh, this food is bad.
Yeah, you have to be very thorough.
Yeah, you have to be very thorough.
Like food critics are always yelling at us, and it makes me feel like a child in primary school. Like, you don't have to be harsh. You don't have to be
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's why I said you have to be constructive with it. And people mix up critique with criticizing.
Yes.
They are two different things. To criticize is kind of in the negative light, but to critique something is to analyze. You're kind of dissecting and letting them know, like she mentioned, you're talking about the texture and all that. So people get to decide if they would eat it or not.
Yes.
That's constructive criticism.
I just realized how much of a foodie I am, because this just reminded me of one massive burger I saw this man. You need to check Abuja. It's an Abuja food tour. That burger is on my to-eat list.
Yeah.
So, Aramide, can you describe the evolving food culture here in Nigeria?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the food culture has really evolved from how we started back then. I remember I started food blogging since 2015. Then our food culture was just starting. We just had like the mundane, like regular things. And then before you know what's going on, it started improving. We started having immersive dining experiences. We started having more things to talk about in the food space, aside just the regular go and eat, maybe have a buffet or something like that. And today it's really big, especially in Abuja. I just hosted an event recently with Jameson, and we kind of synchronized it with a Jameson distillery tour thing, where we also teach people how these things are made, how the meals are made, how the whiskey is made. educational purposes and whatnot. So it's a different space from where we started many, many years back. Yeah, it's
Okay.
quite different.
Talking about the evolution, now we are in Abuja, and I realized at some point that Lagosians, no shit to Lagosians, care a lot about aesthetics of a place as opposed to the quality of the food. And
food.
so you're paying so much for nice chandeliers and flowers around the place, but quality of the food is different. But it's even worse now that I find it hard dining in some places because
Of
the
course.
menus are now so complicated. When last did you see rice and stew on the menu? Because
Yes.
everyone's trying to do fine
Yes,
dining.
you know, they'll do dirty rice. So
Dirty rice.
I think the problem now is, like you rightly said, aesthetics is on the rise. A lot of people are content creators and they like visiting restaurants that look pleasing. But what restaurants need to know is your aesthetics is not enough because people will just come once to your restaurant and that's it.
Absolutely.
But if you want return customers, the food has to be top notch because you're competing with so many restaurants. We're talking about, Aramdi and I were talking about a restaurant this morning that we visited sometime last year. And it's been a bit difficult for them because it's a beautiful space, amazing, you know, chandeliers, flowers, but the quality of the food is not enough to keep people coming back. So I need restaurants to go back to, you know, their walk boards and find a way to fine-tune their menus and deliver quality food because aesthetics is not enough. The game
Yeah.
has changed. So you're competing with almost 100 restaurants in Wuse
For-
alone.
Exactly.
Alone, so your food has to be top notch. That's the only way to
They always have to
keep
find
the
a
business
balance.
keep the business
Yeah.
going forward as well.
What are your thoughts on food prices right now, particularly like in restaurants and the type of business that you do? Because,
Like we were saying.
for example, the place I was planning to take Andy to.
That you are planning to.
Oh.
It's still good
Still
to
there.
have
Present
yeah.
continuous.
Anyway,
to have that.
the food I wanted him to try, or I want him to try, is now about 15,000, and
Jesus
it's a plate of
Christ.
rice.
Wow.
But it's really good.
Okay.
Not to
It's a plate
justify
of
the
rice.
price.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Do you know how many
previously,
kilos of chicken that is?
but
And I
previously
know
it
to
was about
cook.
6.5.
Yeah.
Not like 2 years
Exactly.
ago. So what are your thoughts on this change, this drastic change?
To be honest, I feel like the change is valid because of the inflation. But also, I feel like restaurants right now are doing the most.
Yes.
They're riding on that.
100%.
Yeah, they're riding on that wave. So, say they're meant to increase their price with maybe 2,000, 3,000. They are literally doubling their prices. That's why you have a case where a 6.5 meal is now costing, 15,000 naira. And just like we're also talking about takeaway packs as well, and how these things are now costly. There's no reason why you should go to a restaurant and they'll tell you that the takeaway pack is 800 naira.
Yeah.
Right, but they are doing it now. So by the time if you place an order online, and then maybe the meal is meant to be about 7,000. By the time they add a few things like takeaway, this one, you just see that your bill is 20,000.
Yeah.
You'd be like, how now? How did that come about? So yeah, it's not favoring us at all. But there isn't that way to cash out a bit.
For our viewers at home, Didi gave us a tip, so I have that tip that I'm sharing for you. When you are going to your usual IYA or your cheaper, your Buka type places, take those plastic bowls that you have under your sink and your closets and your cupboards there with you, and so that way it cuts some cost. It's such a great hack that helps save money because I just realized I've got so many of those plastic packs, and I'm sure we all do in our
Yeah,
houses.
of
lined
course.
up
That they're
Yeah.
just
in the
lined up,
cabinet.
and so wash them, take them there, and get them reused. It also helps keep the environment
Exactly.
safe and clean. But talking about bukas, in the past, buka you go, you get fast food, ready-made, cheap food. But I was just saying earlier, and Chef Angela Brown was laughing at me, that once you enter a buka now, they have that beautiful glass covering
course,
with
the
metal. The prices have now gone higher, and I don't know when a scoop of food now means one portion. Let's talk about buka and fast food. Do we still have fast food in Nigeria if it's costing us the same thing as what an average restaurant would have cost 2 years ago?
So again, the main issue is regarding the food inflation. So we cannot really fault even the fast food or the bukas that we're used to. So as you rightly said, the option is now you carry your takeaway pack as an alternative to cut down some of the costs as well. But then we also need to remember that these businesses are struggling. A lot of restaurants have closed down lately because of the rising costs. So we have to just do our own best, our own part to support these businesses in whatever way we can, and that's keeping them open. So that's the way we can give back to the society.
Aramide, would you say it's cheaper or more economical to cook than to eat out?
I think it all depends on your taste. It all depends on your taste. If I decide to cook in, my taste is a lot, so I'm going to end up spending as much as I would spend eating out. I'm going to, my ingredients and my proteins and everything, the veggies I'm going to use, the mixed veggies and the sauces, you know. But generally, I'd say cooking at home is definitely, it should be cheaper because you
my
get to
problem
save.
with cooking at home. So I love cooking as well, but it's such a high output, low
Low reward.
Yeah,
Yes.
low reward.
Because by the time you make that your mixed fried rice or seafood fried rice, you're not going to eat it for dinner.
No, you
And
just
you're not
eat
going to have
it.
it for lunch
Exactly.
tomorrow.
Exactly.
Which is why, like, I was complaining of how much rice I had between Sunday and Wednesday. Because on Saturday you have some rice and you'll be like, Sunday rice is a must. You do that.
Yeah.
Then Monday. And so why should I just make one meal?
Exactly, and then
So
I don't see how people
go
do
out
it.
and buy different portions. And put Zina, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I'm with you, honestly,
Honestly, I'm with you
because
as well.
in terms of my own taste buds, I like to be a bit adventurous. I like trying out new things. That's pretty much how my journey started as a food writer, food reviewer, what have you. So it's the same thing. It's difficult cooking at home because, you know, you've put in so much effort. You've start early in the morning. You've put in so much hours, and the reward is so little. Whereas you could just drive to a restaurant and get whatever you want in a couple of minutes, and you know it's much easy. So I guess now we have to strike a balance really between, you know, cooking at home and then, you know, dining out while still supporting those businesses that are really
I mean,
struggling.
and this is from a very privileged position because we don't have
100%.
children.
Yeah, exactly.
Or for people who have like 4 kids, you can't be saying
Yeah.
that.
You
you're
can't.
gonna
You
can't go out
can't.
to buy
No, you
food for
can't.
the
first
You
time.
can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
I think another
Okay.
issue also is the electricity
Oh, yeah, being
to
able
preserve
to
the food.
That's
Food,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Once you buy food and you eat it,
Are
you
you
know
on
that's it. You
band
don't
W?
think of, I don't even know what band I'm on. It's maybe band Z.
So mine has been reasonably okay. But before we let you run, we want both of you to give us your top 2 restaurants for fine dining and top 2 restaurants for affordable food. We'll start with you, Aramide. It can be Abuja, it could be Nigeria, but this is for tourism purposes. And so I'm a huge fan of the city I'm in, but generally top 2 for fine dining and top 2 for affordable good dining.
Okay, so let me start with affordable. I just found this place recently, like 2 months ago, and I've been hooked. It's called Yakoyo.
Okay.
Yeah,
I knew
so
you were going to say that.
Really? Please
it's called
remind me
Yakoyo.
later.
These guys have, you know, pounded yam, amala.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, and like they do the amala right in front of
Yeah,
you.
so it's
just
See,
hot amala. And at the end of the day, so the reason I call it affordable is you get to do your own where you can do. So if you know you can do three amala, 3 scoops of amala and begiri, you know, 2 beef and everything. Work with your 1.5 budget, you know, as opposed to pricey fast food places where you can't really. So Yakoyo is one. Then Amala Sky opened in Abuja recently.
Yeah, I've been there once.
Right. So, but I didn't want to, because they also have, is a booker, but they have
they
their
have
glass.
they have the glass.
They have their glass,
Yes,
but
they do.
still, it's
Still
pretty
do.
affordable compared to the others. Then for fine dining, Zuma.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
not wrong.
Anytime I go to Zuma, I have a nice time. Their meals are always on point, and the service is top notch. They treat you like, you know, a proper king. So there's Zuma, and then the second one, I would say Canes and Lemons. Is that really fine dining?
Not really. It's a bit upscale, but
Upscale,
it's not,
yeah.
it's
I also love their service. They are not fine dining,
Yes.
but the aesthetics matched with the food and the service, I give it to them.
Okay.
Okay.
I think for me, let me start with affordable before fine dining. Affordable, the first restaurant I'll mention is Le Petit Square. So it's on the first floor of Grand Square, and that is actually my absolute favorite
It has a
restaurant.
French name. There's no way that this should be affordable.
No, it is. No.
It surprisingly is. You took us there once.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am there and I have gone there. A lot of people
Yeah.
are surprised because the quality of the food is impeccable every single time. So you could have a club sandwich there, maybe roughly about 3,000, 4,000, and it tastes the same every single time. I don't think any restaurant has been able to replicate that at such a quality.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I went somewhere in Abuja
Okay.
and I saw a club sandwich and they said it was 17,000
that's ridiculous.
So please go on.
Yeah, so Le Petit Square is on the first floor of Grand Square. Then my second affordable restaurant is Bonoze. So Bonoze is in Garki. They sell all kinds of Nigerian food, but they make the best jollof rice in
I
Abuja,
agree.
hands down. Like, there's no other place. Then for fine dining, I would say Zuma Grill. As Aramde rightly said, Zuma Grill is amazing, impeccable service. I think that's where they really shine through, and the quality of the food is always amazing. And then my second restaurant is the Burgundy. Now, what I really like about the Burgundy is the menu changes. So every other month, you can expect to see something new there, and it's a tasting menu. So it's always influenced or inspired by a different region or a different country. So it's amazing every time. And you can also get wine pairing options there as well. So those are my top 2 picks for fine dining in Abuja.
So, to our viewers at home, visit Abuja. We have good food. If there's anything we have in Abuja, we have restaurants. I think we have a minimum of 500 in this town, right?
minimum.
I think it's more actually.
Yeah.
I
I
think
wouldn't be
it's more.
surprised.
I think it's more. It was
We
in
have a
Wusetu
lot.
and Gwarinpa alone. Yeah, that's
and
at
they
least
keep
400.
opening. As we're talking right now, somebody's planning a restaurant opening right now.
Yeah.
All we have is food.
Yeah,
All we have is food and peace. Didi, what's your... Well, that place you're taking me to. Until you take me there and we do a review.
I'm considering having lunch at where you mentioned.
Le Petit
Gra-
Square.
yeah,
It's
the
amazing.
Grand Square.
I'll take down the
Amazing.
names and I'll try. But while we try to enjoy this food, this year Didi and I are committed to fitness. So it's extremely important
Yeah.
that you try. I've been limping in the studio today because of working out just never ends. There's no end line and it's stressful. But you need to have a balance, like Chef Angela Brown said earlier. While you want to eat what you want to eat, you should be able to try to be healthy and don't do the most. For restaurants, please be fair with your pricing, but most importantly, to the government, this is a message to you. The cost of living and this food inflation is as a result of farmers not being able to go to their farms. It's as a result of the economy and the price of dollar to naira, because a lot of what we use still has to be imported. But the point is, we still do love food. That's all we can take on the Lifestyle segment. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, more on the Weekend Show.